inMotion V12 HT, high torque version of the original V12 introduced a year ago by inMotion. And this week I'm gonna ride it and tell you why I think that this is one of the best electric unicycle that a beginner who is thinking about getting into EUC can buy as their starter wheel. Are you ready finally for some non-suspension love? Roll the intro!
Rock it up, then she bring it around. Rock it up, then she bring it around. Rock it up, then she bring it around. Rock it up, rock it up, rock it up, rock it up.
And please click on that like button to tell the algorithm that you like to see EUC content spread far and wide. And a shout out to my friends from the North, EVs, for sponsoring this video. I recently visited their awesome shop and I was very much impressed by how organized they are and all the things that they do to help promote EUCs in Vancouver. So check out their shop if you're looking to buy an EUC and take advantage of that awesome USD to Canadian dollar exchange rate happening right now. And finally, a disclaimer: this V12 HT was provided by inMotion for review purposes, but as always, all opinion expressed in my video are strictly my own. On with the show, and let me start by saying what a year 2022 has been for the electric unicycle world. So much so that the original introduction of the V12 just a year ago now almost felt like ancient history. But let's rewind the tape. It was a seminal moment for inMotion, the release of their first true high-performance 100-volt electric unicycle with a top speed of 43 miles per hour. A drastic shift from their previous stance of focusing on lower speed, beginner or casual rider-friendly wheels. But the V12 was still very much an inMotion product. Compared to its most direct competitors, the 16-inch Begode Nikola, it's better engineered, better built, and better looking. And yes, there were some launch issues, but it's been a year later and I believe most of them have been addressed so far, so this is a relatively safe wheel to buy. But as in all things EUC, it's probably a smart move for you to keep monitoring the EUC forums as well as online chat, just in case if anyone else encounter any further unpleasant surprises. Anyhow, enough with the disclaimer, let's take a closer look at this wheel. On top we have a color touchscreen, which remains one of the best EUC display you can get. Maybe a little bit hard to tell, but it's sufficiently bright for you to read even in direct sunlight. And it let you easily access most of the customization options without having to pull out your phone and the inMotion app. And behind it is a trigger locked trolley handle, which is simple and pretty well balanced to push the wheel around, and a secondary handle underneath which allowed you to carry the wheel with the trolley deployed. And there's also a lift detection button underneath the handle to act as a kill switch when you carry the wheel. There's a small but very effective mud flat on the back, which proven to be very effective when I rode the V12 through a downpour yesterday. And of course, a fold-up kickstand that is reasonably effective at keeping the wheel up. Unlike most other inMotion wheels, the V12 HT has a much higher level of fit and finishes as compared to most other EUCs in similar price range. It is also one of the last current-gen electric unicycle built without a suspension system. The reason why I think it is the best wheel to buy for someone starting out on an electric unicycle. And I'm gonna tell you why, but first, let's take the V12 out on a ride. So So to kick things off, I'm riding the V12 HT bone stock, as in without any of the typical speed pads and custom pedals that I usually immediately throw on top of a wheel whenever I get my hand on it. First of all, this is probably the foundational riding experience that most great riders these days actually started out on. A non-suspension wheel without any of the accessories that people are used to pile on their wheel nowadays, and without pads to lock you in and suspension to cushion the ride. It is all on you and your skills to maintain control of the wheel regardless of whatever adverse condition you may encounter. When you hit a bump, you not only have to make sure that you bend your knee to absorb the hit, you also have to make sure that you take it in a way where your feet doesn't actually lift off from the top of the pedal, which happens. You really have to learn to ride with most of your weight on the balls of your feet and really read the road conditions so you know exactly how much weight that you let off and how much weight that you keep on the pedal. You have to do a bit of a hop to get your weight off of the pedal, but not so much so where your feet lift off. It is certainly tricky to do, especially if you have stairs to contend with without suspension. But a part of me feels that these are really important skills for everyone who rides an electric unicycle to have, regardless of whether or not you end up riding a suspension wheel or not. Like recently, I'm starting to hear these stories of people who are riding their suspension wheel, and when they hit an especially large bump, the wheel bottoms out and they don't know how to respond to it, and as a result they crash and hurt themselves. And at least in some of those instances, I'm starting to suspect it's partly because people have come to rely on suspension as a crutch and forgotten how to actually ride a bump without it. Woo. Not pleasant, but it's certainly doable. There's also a certain sense of freedom when you ride pad-free. You aren't as restricted when it comes to foot positions and stances, and honestly, this was how I originally developed my stance of having offset foot positions with my right legs hugging the wheel and the left all the way out, standing on the tip of the pedals. I know it's a little bit weird, but it is also very effective for the extremely wobbly 9-bar Z10. If you ever complain about how harsh and unstable a ride is without a pad and suspension setup, you should try riding the Z10. That thing has a mind of its own, I swear. I kind of forgotten how much fun it is to ride without pads. You feel so much more flexible and free. You don't have as much accelerations and stopping power. Being able to kind of reposition your foot as you feel free and kind of touch the wheel at various spots rather than just the designated few based on your pad setup really kind of make the wheel feel so much more flexible. Always suggested that the used wheel market is a good place to start, since the best starter wheel is one you don't mind bang up a bit. But I also know that not everyone has the luxury of having access to an active EUC community where you can find cheap deals, and it is expensive to buy and ship them from further away. And as mentioned, with more direct feedback and responsiveness, I also think that a non-suspension wheel is also a better choice for a starter wheel. Now you can go for a lower power and cheaper wheel like the inMotion VAF, but then the problem becomes the very real possibility of you quickly outgrowing its limited capabilities and end up never riding it again. So what you need is an electric unicycle that is agile and easy to ride, with which you can learn and build riding skill on, but would still remain fun and useful as you level up your riding skill, and even if you were to decide to buy a larger and more powerful performance EUCs in the future. Which bring us back to the V12HT. This is a 100-volt wheel with an impressive 2800 watt motor, tuned for high torque output with a top speed of 37 miles per hour. And with a 1700 watt hour battery pack, you should be able to get a pretty decent range out of this wheel. Furthermore, the wheel itself is IPX5 rated, which means that this is actually one of the few wheels you can ride comfortably in the rain, which I had to do all of yesterday. It's unfortunate that waterproof rating is still a rarity among electric unicycle because this is such a practical workhorse of a vehicle. If you're not able to confidently ride it in the rain, it really takes a lot away from its utility. Along with better build quality, the V12HT also come with quite a bit more flexibility when it comes to ride customization because of its more robust firmware. Aside from option to customize the configuration of the decorative lighting, which but what is far more interesting to me at least are the various rider modes available with varied level of sensitivities and even a split rider mode which allow you to set different responses for acceleration and braking separately, which is pretty interesting. Then there is the fact that this is a 16-inch wheel, which means that it is more maneuverable, compact, and watt for watt more powerful than an equivalent 18 or 19-inch electric unicycle. It is also the reason why many riders here in New York City still swear by their Gotway Nikola, even though after 4 years, that model is beginning to show its age. Matter of fact, if you're looking for a modern and current gen electric unicycle, your choices is basically down to the inMotion V12HT versus the Begode T4, which of course comes with suspension, but at the cost of lesser build qualities. So I am going to review the T4 next, and I would certainly take advantage of the opportunity and pit these two wheels against one another, so stay tuned. Now it's time to answer the question on whether or not the V12HT can remain a fun wheel to ride, even for someone who needs that next level of performances from their wheel. But to do that, it's time to do some upgrades. By the way, if you're wondering why I'm not using the e-ride pedal for my shop, I'd love to, except I only have a single pair of the inMotion version left. So I figure I probably shouldn't be such a hog and share the love instead. It is interesting how different of an experience it is to ride with a fully padded out and pedaled, if that's a word, V12. You really get to appreciate how much oomph this little guy has. At lower speed, it feels very, very maneuverable because again, it's a 16-inch wheel. And because of that smaller size, more power is transferred to the road. So naturally my expectation is that this is a torquier wheel, but it is surprising how torquey it is. On the lower end, this wheel feels like it has as much torque and power as the Master, despite that being a higher voltage wheel with a much more powerful motor. It is very rigid, very bouncy ride, not in that suspension pogo sticking vertical up and down bouncy, but when you hit a bump, you really feel it. But you know, you're not meant to really do that on a non-suspension wheel. You're supposed to be maneuverable enough where you avoid things like that. And on this wheel, you have enough torque to maneuver yourself away from those. The top speed is definitely a bit of a downer. I can feel myself hitting tilt back just off of a simple acceleration. Like right here, I'm already at the edge of it. I can feel it kicking in. This is a wheel for the sensible ones among us who doesn't want to do the kind of suicidal run that seems to be my daily ride experience. A suspension is a little bit of a pain, but what you are compensated with is an extremely agile and precise ride. The V12 is extremely flickable and take whatever line you aim it at with millimeter precision. Woo, it is rough. For this kind of speed ride, you definitely need pads. Without suspension, you get a whole lot of air. I also like that sound effect that inMotion puts in. It really makes the wheel feel like it has a bit more oomph. It is really interesting because, again, like this is a wheel that on the lower end feels like it has as much power as a much faster and much more powerful 134 volt wheel, and get there very quickly, and then it comes to a stop very quickly. And as you can tell, it is by no means a slow wheel. Okay. That is very irresponsible of me to be cutting a car off like that. It's pretty rough, as you can probably hear in my voice, but I do enjoy like just how kind of responsive and torquey it is. Okay, tilt back right there. Yeah, see, I get overzealous and I wanted to just speed up, and the wheel is like, The inMotion nanny cuts in and tells you what a bad boy you have been. I actually almost felt like this is a little bit of a waste to pad the wheel out fully. Yes, it allows you to crank it like your life depends on it, but you kind of lose a little bit of the finesse be able to get when you ride pads free. Being able to have a wider range of motion, more ability to tweak the wheel. I am surprisingly impressed with this wheel, with how much fun it is, especially if you have decent road condition, right? Like 6th Avenue right here just recently was paved, so let me not get run over. As long as you're a little bit mindful, you wouldn't have too much problem maintaining a comfortable pace. So here is what I think of the inMotion V12 HT. Now I know that this is not the cheapest choice when it comes to a beginner wheel, and I fully understand that for many out there, irregardless of whatever I say in this video, they would never consider buying a non-suspension wheel ever, and that's fine. And I totally get it. The attraction for better comfort, improved traction, or even just having the latest and greatest in electric unicycle tech is very real. But at the same time, like a manual stick shift car in this age of AI self-driving autopilot tech, a non-suspension wheel also offers a level of simplicity and responsiveness that very few suspension wheel can match, and even then there will always be compromises either in terms of cost or weight. The inMotion V12 HT is a fun, practical electric unicycle that does everything well, and sometimes that is all that you need and nothing more. What do you think? Our non-suspension electric unicycle, relic of an obsolete past, our pure EUC joy that the Dan kids ought to learn to appreciate? Well, that is what the comment section below is for. And you know what? Aha! I somehow managed to trick you into wasting another 20 minutes of your life, but I hope you enjoyed it. Shout out to my supporter on Patreon. Please check out the link in the video description below if you enjoy and like to support my work. And as always, as much as we all love electric unicycle, the only way for us to get better wheel is to grow as a community. So tell your friend and teach him how to ride and get them hooked. Until the next video, thank you.